Good morning. Welcome to the Hawk Hustle Morning Show. I am your host, your sister, your melanated, I don't know, hot mama. I don't know what I'm saying, but my name is Jerisha Hawk. I'm a high-ticket sales coach and business consultant. I work with service-based business owners and really helping you as an individual package the skills that you currently have, turn that into a signature service that you can sell, and then ultimately scale your signature service into a signature program, whether that's group coaching or a course. And yesterday we were talking all about Summit 21 and really just doing a follow-up Q&A from my workshop session from Summit 21, which was called The Price is Tight, How to Nail Your Pricing Without Sacrificing Your Worth. So that was a huge discussion of what we talked about yesterday. Today hi guys. Yeah, I finally washed the conditioner out of my hair. The struggle was real. It was so great meeting you at Summit 21. Summit 21 was like the whole situation. Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. But the hawk is out. Hey, y'all. Yes, we are. So today I wanted to answer some additional follow-up questions from the summit. If I'm going to be able to even pull these questions up. We will see if I can pull these questions up. But if you guys just have any general questions just about Summit 21, about my what the experience was like at Summit 21, or any of those things, we can definitely do some Q&A on that today. What is going on? Yeah, today was my, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but just as we're here. Getting back after doing an event, it just always takes a couple days to get your body readjusted. But yeah, I wanted to answer some questions because some people asked some pretty specific questions about Summit 21 and about my experience. And yesterday we talked a little bit more specifically about more so my session in itself. So the first question that we got, let me see if I'm going to be able to pull this up on Instagram, and looks like no. Hold on one second, guys. I'm about to go try to pull these questions up real quick so we can be somewhat efficient. Give me 1 second. Mail. So I can actually answer these questions. But I hope you guys are having a great day. Let me pull this back up on Instagram before people freak out. Okay. So what is Summit 21? Let me start with that. So Summit 21 is hosted by Blavity. If you guys aren't familiar with Blavity, they're like an online, I guess, like media platform, I guess is what you would call it for, us brown folk. And Summit 21 is an annual conference. It's typically a 2-day event of Black girl bliss, beauty, and boss moves. That's literally what it says on the website. But their tracks this year, it's really about like women's empowerment. But the specific session tracks they had this year were all about entrepreneurship and leadership. And women literally from all over the world were flying in for this event. So I guess this event 2 or 3 years ago used to be called Empower Her. And then they recently changed it to Summit 21. So that's really, it's like Black girl magic in the flesh, like 1,500 women from all over the world getting together to pour into each other from an entrepreneurship and leadership perspective. There was a pitch competition. Somebody won a $10,000 cash prize. And I spoke at the event. I had the honor of speaking at the event. And so that's Summit 21. I definitely would check out Blavity. They have an amazing platform. Blavity also hosts Afrotech, which is something that they do annually as well. So if you've heard of Afrotech, and they recently acquired Travel Noir. So that is Blavity in a nutshell. So yeah, so here's some other questions that I had received about Summit 21. This year it was in Atlanta. So all these questions are from Tiara. Tiara, I love you. But she asked the question of what was your favorite part about visiting Atlanta? this is my second time pulling up in Atlanta, and I still haven't been able to explore the city yet, which I need to go back to Atlanta to actually do. But any ATL folks in the building? But one thing I love about Atlanta is the second you land, you know you're in a different territory. Like, I'm just not used to being around that many Black people, if I'm going to be 1,000% honest with you. Like, I'm not used to being around so many affluent Black folk. And that's one thing I love about Atlanta. Like, the second you land at the airport, I feel like it is, like a baby version of Wakanda. Like, it is just Black excellence all around you. Everybody's on their grind. And I feel like the Black entrepreneurship community there, or just the entrepreneurship community period there, is just so inviting and flourishing and just robust. I was reading an article yesterday or something about where the Black people are that actually have money in the United States, like where the, most financially well-off Black people are, and Atlanta and DC were top of that list. So you feel that when you land in Atlanta, and that is probably one of my favorite parts about visiting, because when I'm in other cities or traveling other places, even when I'm in Detroit, like, I still feel there's a very small pocket of us here in Detroit that there's a lot of hustlers, but there's very few that are like rising above and making money moves. Where it just, and I'm not sure if they just flaunt it in Atlanta, like if they're just boasting or if it's actually real, but that's something I really do like. And the first time I flew to Atlanta, it was a culture shock for me because I had never been around that many Black people before. Like, I grew up in the suburbs. Even though you live in Detroit, unless you like in the neighborhoods in Detroit, you really don't, like, if you live downtown Detroit, there are like very few Black people. So it was just, that's probably one of my favorite things, is like how warm and welcoming the community is there. Like, I just felt so much love in Atlanta. So that was something that I really did enjoy. Next question is, what did I learn that I haven't learned or experienced in other rooms to date? And that's a really good question. I think the thing that I learned at Summit 21, and I kind of spoke on this yesterday, was like just this, or I guess learned or experienced. I definitely experienced this heightened level of like, typically I feel like when I go into certain rooms in other events, there's a lot of women really doubting or questioning whether or not they should be there. Doubting or questioning whether or not they belong in that room. And I feel like that happens a lot when I go to different events, that people are really doubting, like, why am I here? Why was I invited to be here? I don't feel like I belong here. Like, I don't know if I'm qualified to be here. And I really did, that was something that I experienced that I felt like was a bit different at Summit 21. I really did not get that vibe. Like, I really feel as if people felt qualified to be in the room. And if they, even if they were beginning stages in their career, in their entrepreneur journey, like, they felt welcomed. There wasn't this sense of hesitation or like fear that I've definitely felt in other rooms or experienced in other rooms. So I think that was something that was really unique to the experience that was cultivated at Summit 21, that like, it did not matter your title, your rank, your position. Like, we were all there with a common goal. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I feel like everybody had their own groups, but there was always, everybody put a gap in their group to let somebody else in. So that was something that I think that was just different that I've experienced recently. There wasn't this huge, at least I didn't notice it. If maybe it did exist, I definitely did not notice it or experience it personally, where you like just questioning why you're there and like whether or not you belonged. Like, I felt like that did not exist there. Let me see another question. So let me see the next question here. What, if any, value does Summit 21 have for men? And I think that's a really good question, because I think a lot of the time, I feel like there's so many women's events, especially in the Black community. There's so many women's events. There's women empowerment events. There's women like business events. Like there's so many events catered to the Black woman. And I feel like there is a lack or a gap in regards to experiences that are cultivated specifically for men or specifically for Black men. And I probably was specifically for Black men. I think there's tons of conferences out there for men, but those conferences are predominantly more beige than not. But I think what value does Summit 21 have for men? There were men in the audience and there were men in the room, which I thought was awesome. But I just think that I really encourage men to go to events that are predominantly women attendees. Mainly because, one, in most of the environments that I've been in, women are in the minority when it comes to corporate environments or some of the other more traditional experience settings. Women are in the minority. And I really encourage men to step into rooms where they are now in the minority, because it will give them a different perspective of what it's like for most women every day of the week. Right? So I think that that's something that I think that would bring value to any man attending Summit 21, is just to come into that experience or come into that event so they can just gain a new perspective of what it feels like to be in the minority from a gender perspective. But I think also just the way that women were so willing to share and willing to be vulnerable and willing to pull back the curtain and be transparent and just willing to connect and support each other. I always think that there's an opportunity for all of us to continue to learn, to see how that is done and how that type of experience is cultivated. So that can be fostered more in other environments and other spaces. And man, if you were just a single brother, like that was the place you should have been in. There was the amount of beauty in that room was breathtaking. Like there were so many gorgeous women and just powerful women and brilliant women in that room. I was like, dude, if I was a brother, I would be here. Like, and any man that's like, well, where are the good sisters at? They're at Summit 21. The women exist. And so I don't really know. I have to think about that question more. Like, what value does all women events bring to men? But I think, I really do believe women, we give birth to nations. When a woman is taken care of, the household is taken care of. And I really believe that there should be more opportunities for us to fill our cups up, because so often women are pouring from their cups. And the more we're full, the better everybody else really is. So, and then the only other question I got that I think would be that I haven't already answered is, what do you find is the biggest challenge in helping women earn their worth consistently, or like earn more money consistently? And the biggest challenge that I experience with supporting my clients, coaching my clients, helping women earn their worth consistently is first shifting their paradigm or shifting their perspective that they should be pricing based off of their worth. That's probably one of the first perspective shifts that has to take place in order for my clients to truly be able to succeed when it comes to business and when it comes to pricing. And this is something that I talked about during my session, is that you should not be charging based off of what you are worth. You should be charging based off of the value that you deliver. And there's another podcast episode about that. I did this podcast episode with Kelly Ruda, and it was really, really great episode. And she's definitely somebody who's helped my mindset shift around that topic. But the first thing that I find the most challenging is shifting the mental perspective that your worth is a birthright. Your worth is something that is infinite and has no price tag attached to it. And there's this self-worth piece that has to take place, this self-worth work that has to transpire individually, right? Because if you personally do not believe that you are worth whatever, that's going to project in how you show up when it comes to charging and when it comes to you receiving as well. So first thing is, we have to distinguish that you should never be pricing based off of your worth, because your worth is infinite, and your worth is a birthright, and nobody owes you anything just because of whatever you come from. Oh, I'm worth this much. You are worth way more than whatever job salary can pay you, or whatever speaking engagement can pay you, or whatever client can pay you. However, you need to learn how to charge based off of your value. And there is a dollar amount and a price tag attached to the value that you deliver. And that is really the shift and the the perspective shift that needs to take place. And that's probably one of the most challenging things, especially with helping women when it comes to earning their income consistently, is first making that shift. And then the second most challenging thing is teaching people how to understand the value that they deliver, what value actually is, how to articulate what the value is based on return on investment, and how that is going to be impacting somebody's bottom line in an organization or in a company or in their pocketbook. Even if you're not teaching people how to make money or consulting people on how to make money, everything has a ROI. Everything has a value attached to it. And depending on your market that you're in and the problem that you are solving, that will dictate in large part in regards to how much you can charge based off the value that you deliver. So even if you're a life coach, you're a health coach, you are helping, moms of toddlers communicate with their toddlers better, everything has a value attached to it, and everything has a return on investment. It doesn't just mean B2B business owners. So I think that's the second most challenging part, is teaching individuals how to understand what value, what problem they solve, what value they deliver, and how to articulate the value of what they do in a way that somebody else will understand, and how to align the value of the problem that they solve with their price points. I think those are probably the two to four most challenging things when it comes to helping women earn their worth, i.e. earn their value on a consistent basis. Those are the two biggest things. And that's really a huge part of what we do with my clients in my program services that sell, is teaching you how to understand what the value of the problem you solve is, and how to articulate that value, and how to ultimately charge based off of what that value is. So those are some other follow-up questions that we had from Summit 21. I do plan to come back to Atlanta sooner rather than later. Atlanta was a lot of fun, but I hope that that just had some other questions that I had about Summit 21 that I wanted to make sure that I answered for you, ladies and gents. So that's all for today. I have a jam-packed day, a jam-packed schedule. I have tons of team meetings. I'm batch recording season 4 of the podcast. So there's a lot of podcast interviews that are going to be taking place over the next week or two. What else is going on? Those are probably two of the biggest things. I just have a lot of meetings today, a lot of follow-up to do today, and a lot of podcast recording to do today for season 4. So make sure that if you guys ever have a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, if you ever want to come on to the podcast, you can submit your questions on my website. And when you submit your questions, either I'll answer them in a Q&A format, on a live stream or on the podcast as a solo episode, or I will, I typically every season like to invite 2 or 3 members of the audience to answer your questions on the podcast and give you individual coaching, individual support. So you can visit jerishahawk.com/podcast. There's an Ask Jerisha button on that page, and you can submit your question there. And I will be, if you want to get featured on an upcoming podcast, or if you just have a question that you want me to answer, or coaching or something specifically that you want me to answer on the podcast or in a live stream, just go to jerishahawk.com/podcast, and you could submit your question there. So that's all I got for you guys today. Go be productive and have a fantastic kickoff to your week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.